episode of Quilt with the Stars is brought to you by Baby Lock for the love of sewing and Koala Cabinets, sewing furniture custom built in America. Hi, you're watching Quilt with the Stars on your computer. How's it going? My name is Mary Fonz and I'm here with Nancy Halvorsen. Welcome, Nancy, to Quilt with the Stars.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here, and this show is really kind of special because all the people that you love to see, the teachers and the quilters and the pattern makers and designers that you follow, we bring them to you to talk to them about their life, their experiences, how they got to where they are now. And I love the interview portion of this show. And Nancy, I'm so excited that you're here because we've gotten to visit a little bit and talk about your story, and now we get to share that with everybody watching. So you were always kind of, well, you've certainly always been an artist, I think, at heart. Do you think that's safe to say?
I think so.
What was the first thing you ever did that sort of tipped your parents off, maybe, that you had that streak in you?
I love to create. I love to make messes all over the house. I like to take ordinary objects and turn them into something, you know, like the oatmeal box into a cradle, and then a doll to go in it, and then a blanket to go on it. And
right.
I was always doing things like that.
And you were painting and doing little doll clothes and sewing projects too, right?
Yes, drawing. Just loved everything art.
Yeah. And so as you grew up, you did those things and made all kinds of messes, and it was clear that you had this many creative bones in your body. But when you got to school, you studied something else. You didn't study art. What was it that you studied?
Well, my dad had majored in art, and he said, you need to major in something more practical. It's hard to make a living doing art.
He had a point.
So I majored in finance.
And
it was okay, but my favorite classes were the art classes that I took on the side as electives.
Sure.
And so that was still my love, even though I, did what my dad told me and majored in something practical.
And his advice would come to help you out later on, as we'll see. But you took these art classes, and were you doing garment sewing? Were you doing sewing projects in those, or were those mostly painting and art, like fine art classes?
Painting, ceramics,
Sure.
Anything I could get my hands on, stained glass, just anything creative.
And that was at the University of Utah, correct? And that's where you're from.
Yes, Utah.
And tell me a little bit about where you live. We're going to talk about your studio in a little bit, but tell me where you live and a little bit about your family.
I live in Layton, Utah, which is just north of Salt Lake City. We live up on the foothills, so we're surrounded by trees. I look out over the valley, and my studio is in my house. I have 2 rooms in the basement. That are daylight rooms, so plenty of light.
Because you're on that slope, so you've got lots of light in the basement.
Yes,
Good.
And then an office upstairs. And the reason why I wanted my studio in my house was because when I started doing this, I had 4 children. The youngest was 3, the oldest was 12. So I felt like I needed to be there because I am a very family-oriented person.
Absolutely.
And wanted to be there for my kids, didn't want to have to run away to work. So.
Absolutely.
It was a blessing that I had a job that I could do and still be at home.
And we'll see pictures of that studio and talk a little bit about how the business evolved. But this is a good time to kind of get into that. When you began, and you got married and you had these little ones, and you had been sewing more over the years because you were making clothes and things for the kids and for yourself.
Yes.
How did the first pattern happen?
We built a new house. My husband knew that I would immediately want to redecorate and replace all the furniture and the things that I like to do.
Sure.
And he said, I can get you the house. If you want to
buy
things to decorate, then you need to figure a way to earn some extra money.
Yeah.
And the whole time I was in high school and college, I worked for a printer. First as the receptionist, then later in the bindery, in the art room, in the dark room. So I was very well acquainted with the process for printing.
Which I bet you really liked, right?
I did like.
Yeah.
I did like. That was fun. And so all through the years when I'd been sewing things just for me, Christmas stockings or table runners, and people would say, I love that. What pattern is that? I want to make that. And
Where can I
would
get it?
say, you know, there isn't a pattern. I just made it up. It's, you know, it's just my own thing.
Sure.
So then I thought maybe I should take some of my designs and print them and sell them.
And you knew
to
your
earn a little
way.
extra money, and I knew how to do the printing because of working for the printing company. So I contacted the owner of the company that I'd worked for.
The same one.
The same company.
Cool.
Years before, and he said, I would be happy to print them for you, and you just pay me back as you earn money. So I didn't even have to come up with any money up front, which was wonderful.
Amazing. It's so wonderful that he did that he believed in you, but also it really speaks to what a good worker you were for him. You know, you never know who you're working for or who's going to help you. It's good to be a hard worker and nice to everybody. You never know, you know. So he printed up your patterns.
Printed up. I just took them around to some of the local shops, sent them off to some of the pattern catalogs.
And there were just 6, is that right?
Yeah, that's what I started out with, and very well received. I started having shops call me and say, I saw this pattern, I don't know anything about you, send me information. And I did that for the first couple of years, just word of mouth.
And that was 91, you said, right?
92 is
you
when
told
I
me.
started publishing.
Okay. And so that little extra money that you needed
Yeah.
to make to, you know, furnish the house started happening.
Started rolling in.
Cool.
But I loved it because it was a creative outlet for me, but I was still at home with my
Still home.
kids. And
And someone suggested along the way that you venture to Quilt Market.
yes.
Yes, and that was in 93. But you had been to Quilt, you went and scoped it out, right?
I did go and to see if this was something that I really wanted to get into.
Yeah.
And it seemed pretty intimidating, but I thought, okay, with pressure from my local quilt shops, you know, you need to go and do this. I went to the International Quilt Market, and then everything just exploded. My, you know, picked up distributors from all over the world and shops, and it was just great.
How
it was
exciting.
fantastic.
So
Very
exciting.
exciting.
And that was really a great time for Quilt Market and the quilt industry too. I think the early 90s were really so much activity happening and so many people, you know, the internet was, you know, kind of starting to kick in too, and it was just a whole new world, and you were really riding that wave.
Yeah, really exciting.
Yeah, I bet. I hope you took lots of pictures and kept a good diary because, oh my gosh, this is happening and that's happening. And one of the huge things that happened, the biggest things, a career turning point, I think you could probably say, was that Bernat approached you. And what did they say?
They came to me at market. They said they liked my designs, they liked the way I put color together, and would I be interested in designing fabric? And I was just thrilled because I had in here what I wanted, and I went out and looked, and I could never find it.
Sure.
And so then I could just design what was in here and actually sew with it, and that was just amazing.
It's a dream come true.
It was.
It's a dream that comes true. And 16 years later,
Yes,
you're still designing for Bernat.
I am.
That's pretty amazing. And you have a new line that comes out. It's funny when we were speaking about, like, well, is there anything particular, you know, you'd like to talk about that's kind of coming down the pike, or anything you're really excited about that's new? And the truth is, you have new books and new patterns coming out all the time. You're just so busy. You design so much and produce so much with Art to Heart. There's always something new coming out. And can you tell me how many books and patterns there are available
right now I have 47 books out and another one on the way. And, you know, many lines of fabric, probably between 25 and 30 lines of fabric that I've done.
Do you have you saved at least a bolt of each single one? Good.
I have bits and pieces of all of my lines.
Great. And arttoheart.com, is that
Yes.
right? Arttoheart.com is your website, and certainly everyone should go there and check those things out, shop and learn more about you and what you do. What's your favorite part? What's your favorite part of your job? You know, if you can. I know it's hard.
I think the thing I love is, you know, sometimes staring at the blank page is hard, but once I start designing and sewing, as I'm working, more ideas pop into my mind, and I get more excited. It's like the momentum starts rolling, and pretty soon I have so many ideas and so many things are happening, and I love the way things are turning out, and I just have to cut it off because
Right.
you know the book is full or I'm
Sure.
running out of time. But that's my favorite time, when the creativity is just
Yes.
really flowing.
Yeah.
That's really exciting.
You
time.
feel alive, don't you?
Yeah.
You know, I feel that way when I'm making a quilt and I'm just trucking and I figure out something that was giving me trouble, and it's that inspiration. It's
Yeah.
wonderful. There's nothing like it. Well, before we go, I wanna say that you were telling me about your husband and how he, you know, he was kind of like not paying attention to all the activity that was going on. Maybe didn't get a handle on all the things that were happening with Art to Heart necessarily. He didn't realize how big it had gotten, and it's gotten pretty big. He now works for you.
Yes. 10 years ago, he quit his job and started working for me.
Well,
So that's kind of exciting.
he probably knows how big it is now.
A family thing.
It's so great, and I see that again and again when I talk to quilters on Quilt with the Stars. It's so exciting to talk about how the families are involved and how I wanted to mention the two gals who work for you at the warehouse. You've got a warehouse that you maintain.
My office manager is Kara, and she's my wonderful daughter-in-law. And her sister, Danielle.
Mm-hmm.
And then actually my daughter, Marin Sutton, is just starting out designing fabric for Riley Blake. and Very excited about that. So
cool.
really excited to have another generation of quilter.
Yeah, people love seeing that. I happen to know a little bit about that because I work with my mom, and we're now
exactly.
both in the industry, and it is so rewarding to see, you know, the new folks come through. I feel that way when I see someone who's even a few years younger than me. I'm like, oh, good, the next generation. You know?
Yeah, really exciting.
It is, and she clearly gets so much inspiration from you, I'm sure, and her artistic creativity, her artistic nature and her creativity certainly have been passed down from you too. I'm sure. Thank you for coming on Quilt with the Stars, Nancy, and visit the website, and thank you for watching the show, and thank you for being on the show.
It's been a pleasure. It really has.
Good, my pleasure too. We'll see you next time on Quilt with the Stars. Bye-bye. This episode of Quilt with the Stars is brought to you by Baby Lock, for the love of sewing, and Koala Cabinets, sewing furniture custom built in America.